You ever have one of those moments where you realize your life just turned into a neighborhood drama? Because that's exactly what happened to me over a bucket of soapy water and a garden hose. It was a calm Saturday morning, the kind where the sun hits just right, the birds sound like a movie soundtrack, and you're in that rare weekend mood to actually be productive. My car had been collecting dust for weeks, so I figured, why not give it a good wash in my own driveway? Simple, right? Not in this neighborhood. See, my HOA has this self-appointed guardian of the rules. Her name's Karen, and trust me, she lives up to it. She's the type who times how long your trash bins stay at the curb. And if your grass grows half an inch too high, she's got a photo ready for the HOA board by dinner. So there I was, blasting music, rinsing off the dirt, completely unaware that the storm was brewing across the street. Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed her blinds twitch. Just a sliver, but enough for me to know she was watching. 5 minutes later, she was on her porch, arms crossed, lips pursed tighter than a sealed envelope. "Excuse me," she yelled over the hose. "You can't wash your car here. That's against HOA environmental regulations." I paused, water still running. "Karen, it's just a quick wash. I'm not flooding the street." She didn't care. She stormed off with that trademark "I'm calling someone" face. And oh, she did. 15 minutes later, a patrol car rolled down my street. 2 officers stepped out, looking as confused as I was. One of them asked, "Sir, did you threaten anyone or cause a disturbance?" "Threaten?" I laughed. "I'm washing my car." That's when Karen marched out again, waving her phone like a badge of authority. "He was aggressive. He yelled at me and sprayed water toward my property. He's threatening community safety." The officers looked at her, then at me. One raised an eyebrow, the other sighed. I could tell. They didn't want to be here either. But this was only the beginning. Because what started as a harmless car wash was about to turn into a full-blown HOA war. The officers asked Karen to explain exactly what she meant by threatened community safety. And that's when things took a turn from ridiculous to unreal. She straightened her posture, took a dramatic breath, and spoke like she was delivering testimony in court. "He was wasting water during a drought," she said. "He raised his voice at me, and the runoff from his driveway could damage our shared property. That's dangerous." I stared at her, stunned. My driveway wasn't flooding. The water wasn't even reaching the sidewalk. Meanwhile, her own lawn sprinklers were blasting away like a water park. One officer glanced at them, then back at Karen, clearly unimpressed. "Ma'am," the officer said calmly, "did he threaten you verbally or physically?" "Well, not directly," she replied, "but his tone was aggressive. And aggressive behavior leads to unsafe environments." I could feel my patience thinning, but I kept my hands visible and my voice steady. All I said was that I'm washing my car. That's it. The officers separated us for a moment. One walked over to me and asked if I had any prior disputes with her. I almost laughed. "Only every time I exist," I said. He smirked like he'd heard that answer before. Across the driveway, Karen was pacing, gesturing wildly, pointing at my hose, my bucket, even my music speaker like they were weapons. She kept repeating the phrase, "community safety," as if saying it enough times would magically make it true. Then she dropped her next move. "I want this documented," she snapped. "I'm filing a formal HOA complaint, and I want his water shut off if necessary." That finally pushed one officer over the edge. "Ma'am," he said firmly, "we're not shutting off anyone's water, and washing a car isn't a crime." Karen's face tightened. "So you're just going to ignore HOA law?" The officer sighed. "HOA rules are civil matters. We handle criminal ones." That should have been the end. But Karen wasn't done. She turned toward me, lowered her voice, and said, "This isn't over. You think you've won, but I know how to make this very difficult for you." The officers cleared me. No warning, no citation. They apologized for the inconvenience and left. The street went quiet again. Birds chirped. The sun kept shining. But as Karen marched back inside, slamming her door, I realized something important. This wasn't about water. This was about control. And she wasn't going to let it go. I thought the police visit would scare Karen off. Normal people back down when authority tells them they're wrong. Karen, however, took it as a personal challenge. 3 days later, an official-looking envelope appeared on my door. HOA letterhead, bold font, lots of legal-sounding language. I already knew who sent it before I opened it. "Notice of violation," it read. Apparently, I had violated multiple HOA codes. Excessive water usage, creating a public nuisance, and this one made me laugh out loud. Engaging in behavior that undermines community safety and harmony. They gave me 10 days to respond or face fines. I reread the letter twice, half amused, half angry. I hadn't flooded anything. I hadn't yelled. I hadn't threatened anyone. Yet here it was in black and white, like I was some kind of menace with a garden hose. That evening, I checked the HOA portal. Sure enough, Karen had submitted photos. Grainy screenshots of me holding the hose. A zoomed-in image of water near the curb. One photo even caught me mid-sentence, mouth open, frozen in a way that made me look unhinged. Context didn't matter. Optics did. The next HOA meeting was scheduled for the following week. Normally, attendance was low. A few retirees, the board members, maybe one bored homeowner. This time I showed up early, folder in hand. Karen was already there, seated front and center, arms folded, smug smile locked in place. She didn't look at me, but I could tell she felt victorious. This was her arena. When the meeting started, the board president read the complaint aloud. The words sounded dramatic, almost dangerous. Threatened safety. Aggressive conduct. Environmental risk. My turn came. I stood, calmly laid out my evidence. Photos of my driveway showing no runoff. City water guidelines proving car washing was permitted. Time-stamped video from my door camera that captured our entire interaction, including Karen yelling first. The room shifted. Murmurs spread. A couple neighbors glanced at Karen, then back at me. One board member leaned forward, squinting at the video. Another cleared his throat uncomfortably. Karen interrupted. Videos don't show intent, she snapped. I felt unsafe. And feelings matter. The board president sighed. Feelings matter, yes, but facts matter more. For the first time since this started, Karen looked unsure. The board postponed their decision, requesting more review. No fines, no immediate penalties. As the meeting ended, Karen brushed past me and whispered, "You embarrassed me," I replied quietly. "You did that yourself." She stopped, turned slowly, and smiled. "You're going to regret this," she said. And I knew then, this still wasn't over. The regret Karen promised didn't come the way she expected. Instead of retaliation, something far worse happened for her. Attention. Word spread fast in our neighborhood. HOA drama always does. Neighbors who'd stayed silent for years suddenly started talking, sharing their own stories in hushed tones. The couple down the street mentioned fines over holiday lights. A retired veteran talked about threats over his flagpole. Even a single mom said Karen once reported her for unauthorized chalk drawings on the sidewalk. Patterns formed, and people noticed. 2 weeks later, the HOA scheduled a special follow-up meeting. This time the room was packed, standing room only. Karen arrived late, scanning the crowd like something felt wrong. Her usual confidence looked thinner, stretched. The board president opened the floor, not to me, but to residents. One by one, neighbors spoke, calmly, clearly, documented. Complaints, emails, photos, recorded conversations. The same phrases Karen used on me appeared again and again. Community safety, aggressive behavior, HOA law. What once sounded official now sounded rehearsed. When Karen finally stood to defend herself, her voice shook just enough to give her away. "I'm protecting property values," she insisted. "Someone has to enforce standards." A board member responded gently but firmly. "Enforcement doesn't mean harassment." The vote happened faster than I expected. The board issued a formal reprimand. Karen was stripped of her unofficial enforcement role and barred from submitting solo complaints without corroboration. Future violations would require board review, not personal reports. No cheering, no clapping, just relief. After the meeting, Karen avoided eye contact, gathering her things quickly. As she passed me, she paused, like she wanted to say something sharp. But nothing came out. Control had finally slipped from her hands. Life didn't become perfect after that. HOAs never are, but something changed. The neighborhood felt lighter. People waved more. Kids played longer. The fear of being watched eased. And my driveway? I washed my car the next weekend. Same hose, same bucket, same sunshine. This time no police, no letters, no accusations, just soap, water, and peace. Karen's blinds stayed closed. I realized then that this was never about a car wash. It was about power. And what happens when someone finally says no, calmly and publicly. Because sometimes the strongest response isn't yelling louder. It's standing still while the truth speaks for itself. And if you're dealing with someone like Karen in your life, remember this. Documentation beats intimidation every time. Can you believe what happened with Karen? If you enjoyed this wild HOA drama, smash that like button. Comment below with what you would do in my place. And don't forget to subscribe for more unbelievable neighborhood stories. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next.